I've been blessed to work with some very significant brothers. The Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., bless and peace to his soul and live in spirit and legacy. And of course, I worked for 30 years in the United Church of Christ. But I have to say, when I met the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, for the first time in my life, I met a minister and a brother who knew how to minister to brothers and knew how to be a brother unto ministers. I'm not going to use a whole lot of fancy words, but I want us to know today, in 2007, we are blessed as a people to have with us a man who has and continues to speak out, raise our level of understanding of ourselves and of our God, and to promote and to encourage us to be on the right path. It's truly a blessing. And I'm honored to have the responsibility to present our brother, our minister, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Thank you very much. Thank you. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, we give Him praise and we give Him thanks for His mercy and for His continued intervention in the affairs of human beings, that whenever any member of the family strays from his path, before he punishes, he always raises from among that people a prophet or a messenger to guide that people back to the path of his divine favor. And this is why we thank God for all of his prophets, particularly Moses and the Torah, Jesus and the Gospel, Muhammad and the Quran. Peace be upon these worthy servants of God. I, as you know, am a student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I thank Allah for His intervention again in the affairs of black people in America who have been the victims of the worst and most cruel form of human bondage, where the mind and the spirit of a people was broken and a people destroyed. A people lost from their God, lost from their culture, lost from their history, lost from their names, their language, their native land and people, turned inside out and upside down, to be made a mockery of by their former slave masters and the slave masters' children. And now this people, who were once destroyed, have found favor with God, as He has always favored the enslaved, the oppressed, the downtrodden. And He has favored us not just with a prophet, but with His presence. And out of us chose one to lead, teach, and guide us to the path of His divine favor. And with that presence He's offering to us the scepter of rulership, that which was not becomes that which is. And that was the bottom rail, he will bring it to the top. And that which was last, he would make it first. This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. I thank Allah for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I thank Allah for each and every one of you who are present, for those who organized this brunch, for those who sacrificed to pay for this brunch. I am honored to be here with you, and I greet you all with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Brother Minister Benjamin, for your kind introduction. I thank our sister for her beautiful poetry. I thank our brother who was nervous for his wonderful song and the beautiful lyrics. I thank Allah for the greatness that is in this room, the power that is in this room, the leadership that is in this room, but above all, the potential that is in this room. I am honored by the presence of the Reverend Dr. Michael Dyson, who has always been a defender of the hip-hop community and a guide for that community. And a brother who recognizes the extreme value of who you are. So this morning, I want to talk to you about your value. And I want to encourage you to be the light that produces a revolution. Now, the word revolution sometimes inspires fear. But we shouldn't be afraid of that word if we properly understand it. Jesus was a supreme revolutionary. All of the prophets created a revolution. A revolution only means a complete change that brings a thing back to its original point and position, above all, with God. Who are you? Hip-hop masters, who are you? As I look at our people and what we've been through in America, I think America would be absolutely tasteless without our presence. We lend so much to everything that we are involved in. We give something to football that was never in football when it was all Caucasian. We give something to basketball. We give something to the classics. We bring something to everything that we get involved in because we are naturally creators. We are children of the Creator, and we are the first of His creation. So we are direct descendants of God. So everybody likes to hear black folks sing, especially when we sing songs of the Lord. Nobody can sing the spirituals, the gospel, like us. Nobody can preach the gospel like us. There's something about us that's unique and magnificent and original and causes others to follow us, even if it's downhill. But as I look at our suffering, and I think about God and how he uses pain to bring new things to light, new creations. Nothing of value comes without pain. It was your mother and mine that brought us into this world through pain. And even though the pain was such that it imitated the pain of death, and sometimes mothers wanted to die because the pain was so great, but in a moment when birth came, the pain was forgotten because something new and beautiful had come into existence. Without the pain of slavery, we wouldn't have had what they call Negro spirituals. The spirituals were born out of our pain and our longing to get out from under a wicked slave master and return to where they took us from. So steal away. Steal away. Steal away to Zion. I ain't got long to stay here because it's a deep river. And my home is over Jordan. Oh, don't you want to go to that promised sky? No, that promised land where all is peace. Our ancient fathers and mothers passed messages on to the other slaves. Everybody talking about heaven ain't going there. Heaven, heaven. Our folk knew how to use what the slave master liked to get a message over. Chicken George wasn't Chicken George. Chicken George was a master because he understood the master. And he played the game for the master with his fiddle, but his aim was always, I got to be free. I got to get past this wicked master. And if I can trick him by saying yassa when I mean no, sir, then I'll get where I'm going. Well, pain produced the blues. And everybody, you know, especially those of us from the South, in those honky-tonks with white lightning, and we love to hear the pulsating rhythm of the blues. Huh? I lost my baby. Everything that made us sad, we put it in a song to communicate the depth of our hurt, the depth of our pain, the depth of our despair. Our poets, Langston Hughes and all the others, they spoke out of pain. They created out of pain. And they moved the people out of their pain. Who are you? Black folk got into church. Massa didn't want us in no religion. But when he decided we could become Christians, he said, yes, make them Christians. Not to make us more like Jesus, but to make us more pliant. By tricking us by the way they used Scripture. If they smack you on one cheek, you be sure, turn the other. Well, who was smacking us? Love your enemy, but who was the enemy? Pray for those who were despitefully using us, but who was using us? And if they come and ask for your pants, give them your cloak too. In other words, a perfect doctrine to make a better slave. And so those of us who became preachers, they loved us because we were brilliant, we were eloquent, but we had to preach a gospel that didn't rile the slaves. Don't stir up the plantation. And then Nat Turner read the Old Testament. And then Mark Vesey read the Old Testament and began to say an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And a fighting spirit was born. They wanted to kill the master. They didn't want no peace with the master. Kill him and let's be free. Well, Nat is gone. Denmark Vesey is gone. That spirit is dormant, but it's ever present. But the enemy knows this. He knows what he has done, and he's wise. He knows that if you plant the seed of corn, you can't get back wheat. He knows that as a man soweth, the same shall he also reap. So he's watching for that spirit that he knows must come, because he cannot stop terrorizing. He cannot stop exploiting. He cannot stop killing, because that is the nature of the enemy. The enemy will never make you free to become his equal. You got to free yourself. Listen to me, because I don't have a lot of time. God brought me back from death to serve a purpose, because we're at the end of this. And you have a big role to play. You are the leaders. Whether you want to be or not, God has chosen you, and through your pain you speak. Jazz came out of pain. And look at what we did. Listen to our jazz artists, the way they move around chords. Well, the white folks copy it now. And now they're moving that to the side for some kind of new form of jazz that speaks to them, but not to our great artists who gave jazz to the world. And then there was bebop. And last came hip hop. All born out of our pain. Public Enemy heard a word. Brother Malcolm heard a word. Brother Malcolm was a thug before he heard the word. But Malcolm was not a thug in his nature. He was a thug by circumstance. He wanted to be a lawyer. And when his teacher asked him, Malcolm, what would you like to be? He said, I would like to be a lawyer. Why a lawyer, Malcolm? I want to fight for my people. But the teacher said, oh, Malcolm, if you became a lawyer, my people would never hire you, and your own people would not trust you, but you would make a wonderful carpenter. You see, carpenters can't threaten white power. So it's good that you be a carpenter. It's not a dishonorable trade. It's just non-threatening until you try to build for yourself. It's all right to be a plumber. It's all right to be a brick mason. But when you start building your own communities, now this is threatening. So my dear hip-hop artists, managers, producers, record label owners, who are you and what is your function today? Public Enemy heard a word. KRS-One heard a word. Big Daddy Kane heard a word. Professor Griff heard a word. And when they heard the word inspired new thought. Yeah, pain, but then they started rapping. There wasn't no beat to it then. It was just spitting out lyrics. But the lyrics were powerful. And the lyrics were not popular in those circles that produce us. So they were producing themselves. They were distributing themselves and becoming rich. And so those who always watch us for trends, what's the new trend among them? I won't use the word that they use, but what is the trend among them? Oh, it's called rap. Bring some of it, let me hear it. It'll take a whole nation to do what, Griff? When they took that in the room, they said, we can't. Well, the Negroes are listening to this. Why, if they keep listening to this, our police won't have work to do. They're going to start building something of value. How do we fix this? Well, you know, in the Quran, which is the book of scripture of the Muslims, it always talks about how Satan plans. The Bible does it too. You know, how he takes a thing and wisely, skillfully turns it. So that the thing that you thought was going in a good direction, he turns it so that it serves his general purpose. Now today he's much wiser than he was, but his game is still the same. He's much wiser than he was. But so are you, but still being tricked. You see, Satan is so smart, you know. I'm sure you saw the movie The Godfather. And whenever he wanted to get his way, he gave them an offer that they couldn't refuse. And you know how we are. We're a people that want to be loved. We're a people that want respect. We're a people that want to move in our community, and the people in our community say, whoa, there he is. There she is, my man. See? So we keep adding things to ourselves for respect because there's emptiness on the inside. The Bible says you cannot add 1 cubit to your height. You can put on stilettos, but in the end of the day, you got to take them off and realize that you are what you are. You understand what I'm saying? And you can add extensions to your hair. But at some point, reality says it may only be an inch or two. But thank God for the Koreans. A little levity is always good. But I'm getting to the point of your value. You see, the enemy saw our brother from Louisiana, Master P, becoming a millionaire, and they weren't promoting him. They said, if they don't come into our distribution system, then these Negroes will find out they don't need us. And if they find out that they don't need us, then they'll become independent of us, and we won't be able to tap the rich resource of their creativity. My son one day said, Daddy, do you know anything about the kings of comedy? I said, no, son, I haven't heard of them. You know, I'm in the Bible all the time. I'm in the Quran all the time, and sometimes you lose touch, you know. So I got these children that keep me in touch. He said, Daddy, I want to put on the kings of comedy for you. And I sat down and I saw my brother Steve Harvey, and I saw Cedric the Entertainer, Bernie Mac, and Hughley. Oh, it was a little raunchy. But the thing that I saw was their consciousness. These are some of the most brilliant men who understood the reality of what we were facing, put it in comedy, but the kings of comedy were raising the consciousness of our people. And the moment the enemy saw that, he said, let's give them an offer that they can't refuse. And most of us as children of slave parents, we want notoriety even more than money. So we end up with notoriety and no money. Now, brothers, Diamond's girl's best friend, and diamonds have value, especially with the dollar falling. So bling bling may not be a bad thing. Oh, that rhymed, didn't it? But when you put on your bling bling, see, you do that to say something, because there's emptiness here. See, you don't need a diamond if you shining. You don't need gold if you are the standard of value. We only need these external things to cover the nakedness of our being. A soul that needs to be fed. A mind that needs to be taught. A people that need to be raised. So the enemy brought our brothers out to Hollywood and gave them a comedy show on Fox. That's Mr. Murdoch. Very wise, very wise, exceedingly wise. Well, now once you get the money, see, the money is always there to blind you. See? But you don't look behind the money. You look at the money. And he prints it every day. It takes a few cents to print $100 bills by the thousands. And he drop it in your lap and you say, oh, I got it now, brother. So then he calls you in and he said, well, here's the new writer for your show. And as the writer writes, the edge of your consciousness begins to be cut off. And as the writer writes, you find yourself a modern Stephen Fetchit. As the writer writes, you're funny, but you're stupid. So he's taken a conscious man and cut him down and made comedy now comedy with no purpose, when before it was comedy with purpose. And that's the same thing that he did with hip-hop. Now, you are a part of a game that's bigger than you. Your talent, your genius is being manipulated to create